Hey YouTube, it's Ashley Needles here, and last night I watched the most terrifying show ever. It was put out by Korean Tourism, and it's called Noble My Love or something like that. It was so scary. Like, if this is what romance is in Korea, I never ever want to go there. It was horrifying. This guy meets this girl and he's kind of a jerk to her, but then she saves his life, right? Which, okay, that's fine. But then, like, he buys the building where she works and he, like, has it, he's like, it's going to be torn down unless you take this building that's so much better that I want you to work in. And she's like, but this is where I want to work, this is like, I built this up. This is mine. I put so much of myself into it. I really want to keep it. And he just is like, oh, you don't know what you want. So anyway, he forces her to go into this, and after buying her building and being like, yeah, I'm going to demolish it, he he blocks her from getting loans and all these other things, blocks her from going into any other place until she has to accept his offer of going into, yes, it's a really nice vet clinic, but whatever. Anyway, so until she accepts his offer. So she does. Anyway, he like forces her into a relationship with him by like being like, oh, well, now that you're in this building, I'm going to charge you $10,000 a month in rent unless you agree to be my girlfriend. Yeah, it's really, really psycho, and it gets worse. So then he forces her to live with him as well by buying any apartment building that she tries to live in, and being like, I'll just destroy that one too. If you try to go to another one, I'll just buy it and destroy it. And he's like, and the only place you have left to live is my place. So she has to move in with him. And it gets even worse. Like, and this is supposed to be a romance. That's the really confusing thing. It's horrible. It is so horrible. So, like, he forces her to quit dance lessons because he doesn't want any other guy touching her. So she was taking these, like, tango lessons, and he's like, no, you can't do that because, you're mine. And, I was just like, wow, this is psychotic. Nothing she says or does makes an impact in the show. And I'm just sitting there watching. And they end up, living happily ever abused and psychotic stock syndrome ever after. I mean, he literally will not let her leave the house without informing him of where she's going. She's not allowed to, like, his brother comes to visit and she's not allowed to even look at his brother. I was like, holy crap. And I thought 50 Shades of Grey was bad, and I only read the first 100 pages. So I watched this Noble My Love, and I was like, no, this isn't love. This is horrible. This is terrifying. This is excruciating. So anyway, I'm going to continue studying Korean romance dramas to see if that's actually what Korea feels like. Like, is that really how they see women, and what is that what their culture is? That women don't know their own mind? Like, that was the thing. Like, in it, she supposedly didn't know her own mind. She was definitely in love with this guy, and she just needed to realize it. This abusive, psychotic, stalker, insane psycho. I was like, that's so not love. So you compare this to my book that I'm writing, right? And I've already put out part one. In it, there's a part where Jays tells Saren that she shouldn't lower her eyes because it attracts predators, which is true. And I was just, putting the information there for people because, when you're like that, it's very attractive to predators. It's very attractive to abusive men. Um, Anyway, so whereas if you make eye contact, abusers are like, they don't like that at all. And I used to be somebody who used to always look at my feet and stuff. And anyway, I've drawn in my fair share of abusive men. But the guy I based Jay's off of, because yes, I based it off of a real life relationship. The relationship I actually had after Art died. Now, admittedly, when I first met this guy, I did think he was a jerk. I kind of did, because Art had just died, and, like, you can read about it on my blog. It's called A Date with Grief or something. Yeah, a long time before Happily Ever After. Anyway, but let me tell you what really made this guy wonderful. Not just in the book, but in real life. So, in real life, like, my friend pretty much calls me a whore in front of him because I had dressed up in a sexy schoolgirl outfit for him and stuff. And she told me that I was, being really slutty. She'd called me a slut or something. And I said, I love you. I took her aside and I'm like, I love you. And you're allowed to condemn my behavior, but you are not allowed to call me names. That's not appropriate. I'm like, you need to separate my behavior from me, because I was going through something with Art dying and, it's whatever. But Now I'm looking back at my behavior and I'm like, that was actually not that bad. So anyway, um, yeah. So she was allowed to condemn my behavior. She was super Mormon and she became friends with me when I was super Mormon, so I understood where she was coming from. He, however, the second we walked out of the house, he's like, why in the hell do you let anyone treat you that way? I mean, that wasn't the only thing that happened. Their kid took my keys from me and whacked me with this like heavy set of keys, and it actually hurt pretty bad. And I took the keys away and I'm like, we don't hit people with keys, that's naughty. Like, my jaw was still hurting and I was being very sweet about it because that was who I thought I needed to be. I thought, anyway, my whole life I practiced and worked desperately hard to be a doormat. Like, that was my life goal, was to be a freaking doormat, because I didn't realize that's what it was, but that was my version of what feminine meant, was to be a total doormat. Yeah, notice I still have long hair. I'm thinking about getting rid of it. I don't know. I think long hair is attractive to predators because, number one, they can grab it from, like, that's something predators look for, is something to grab on a girl, which is long hair, something to control them with. So I'm thinking about getting rid of my long hair, but I want to get it down to my butt and then sell it for wigs, because apparently Locks of Love doesn't give it free to the people that they do it for. They actually sell your hair too. So I'm going to sell my hair, so that's going to be exciting once it gets down to my butt. But yeah, so abusers look for girls with long hair because they want something to control them with. Or not abusers, rapists and like the people who will like accost you on the street. They look for girls with long hair. Okay, so next. So I was talking about my relationship with this guy, and we walked out the door and he didn't fight my battle for me. He didn't need to. He just pointed out that I was letting somebody else treat me like crap. That was really cool. But when he was around and I stood up for myself, he always backed me up, like every single time. So we went to the movies and the line was going across the parking lot to where cars couldn't get through. And so I start moving people because that's who I am. I'm like, oh dear, these poor people, they're in their cars and they want to get through, and all these people are just standing here like idiots, because they really were. But anyway, so I start moving people and he helps me. He starts talking to people and be like, yeah, we need to move the line, can you move? And I'm like, aren't you embarrassed by me? Because every other guy would be embarrassed by that, socially frowned upon behavior of telling people they're being stupid. Or I wasn't really telling people they're being stupid, but I was, hurting people. And people don't really like to be hurted, like cattle, but sometimes they really need it. And anyways, so I'm like, aren't I embarrassing you? And he's like, you want to move the line? I'm like, yeah, I do. The carts needs to get through. And he's like, then let's move the line. And I was just like, oh, wow. Now that is an alpha male. He only cared about what I thought about him. He didn't care about what the rest of the world thought. He was just like, screw them. If it makes you happy, let's do it. And I was just like, wow, that's really cool. Now, he dumped me for my own good. Like, I had a stalker at the time. Like, I've actually been abducted, which is, crazy. But anyway, so I had a stalker at the time who broke into my house several times and things. But anyway, I come home and my roommates had let him in, and I have my boyfriend with me at the time. And the first thing I say is, get out, to the stalker. And my boyfriend, who I won't mention his name, my ex, because he dumped me forever ago and doesn't want me in his life, but regardless, I'm still like, part of it's transference, because he was the first guy I dated after art. And I realized that, I realized a lot of my feelings for this guy were transference. But anyway, so, which is part of why he's the star of a romance novel and not art, is because of the transference that occurred. Yeah. Transference is kind of awesome and creepy all at the same time. It was probably my healthiest, most beneficial relationship in a lot of ways. Like, not maybe the healthiest that I've ever had, but it was the healthiest in the most beneficial ways. So the guy didn't leave, the stalker didn't leave, and so the guy I was dating told him to get out, and then he actually threatened physical violence. He started moving towards him, like he was going to punch him or physically removed him if the guy didn't get out. So the guy, scrammed, which was awesome. My stalker scrammed. But he dumped me because I continued to not press charges after that. And my stalker had the cops go to my boyfriend's house and pull him out of bed in the middle of the night for threatening him. even though the guy was trespassing in my house, was unwanted, my roommates had known he wasn't wanted. I don't even know how he tricked them into letting him in. I think my roommate told me, oh, well, I just didn't want to deal with it. But anyway, so she'd let him in because she didn't want him to sit there and knock on the windows and the doors for hours on end like he was prone to do. And sit there and call the house phone and everything until you were losing your mind. Yeah. Stalking is one of the most stressful things you will ever go through in your whole life. So I know from experience that this noble, my love, is horrible. The guy pretty much stalks her. He's like, wherever you go, I'll find you. Anyway, so getting back to my story about the guy I dated, he broke up with me because he got pulled out of bed in the middle of the night by the cops because my stalker had been like, oh yeah, he's threatening my life. Okay, so it was right before midterms, and I hadn't pressed charges on my stalker, and he's like, I can't deal with this drama in my life. I have to break up with you because I need to graduate and I need to take care of me. And I was like, wow. It had never occurred to me how my lack of boundaries could so deeply affect the people in my life. I didn't realize how precious I am and how, like, I had no idea of my own worth. And so I didn't think that me being hurt and traumatized and scared out of my mind would impact anyone else in my life. Now, that was my first experience in realizing this. It doesn't mean I completely changed. I was still, doing my best to be a doormat, but now I was trying to be a doormat who protected the people in my life from the pain and trauma and drama that I was going through. I still didn't do a very good job at it, admittedly. And he wasn't the only person to walk out of my life because of the pain and the drama that I allowed into my life. Like, oh, it was insane. I allowed so much drama in my life. So much. Now my life is like so peaceful and calm because I was like, after, divorce really awakened me to a lot of things. It has been a spiritual journey. It has been so amazing. I've loved it. I've loved going through a divorce, which is weird, but seriously, it's been the most wonderful journey. I don't think I've ever had a more amazing experience in my life than divorce. Yeah. So I'm nuts. I'm not typical at all. Oh, my hair is so flat. I put in way too much conditioner. But then again, I never do my hair because I'm allergic to chemicals. So, oh, and if you haven't read the comments on one of my YouTube videos, there's this girl who's like being all stalker and creepy and verbally abusive to me. And I'm like sitting here being all nice about it. And I'm wondering if I really should just like report her or something, or if I should just keep her in my life just to have a sense of humility and just be like, yeah, beat me up emotionally because that makes you cool. Yeah, it's been funny. I don't know. There have been a few comments because she's not the only one. Now it's like since she started, like a few other haters have like gotten in on it, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we totally hate you. You suck. You're awful and evil and stuff." Because I was married to David Wood. Well, I still technically am, but anyway, settlement offer of nothing, more nothing. Super great. I'm just like. Yeah. He's like, well, what are you waiting for? I'm like, the same thing I've been waiting for forever. Like a settlement offer that meets the like smallest requisites of a divorce, standard of living or whatever and things. Yeah. And, it's like I have been so patient with him, just being like, whatever you need to do, I'm not going to keep pressuring you, just whatever you need to do to get this taken care of, do it. And, I'll just sit back here and wait patiently and not report that you're not paying spousal support or alimony or any of that. No, I'm just going to sit here and be like all nice about it because that's me, a damn doormat. Yeah, I'm still a little bit of a doormat. But I figured, I don't know. I think people just need time to work things out and then they'll come to realizations on their own and they'll do things on their own. But apparently not. Some people just don't. So, yeah, I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about that. Well, actually, I know I'm allowed to talk about that, but anyway. Yeah, I have to be very careful what I say because I can get into a lot of legal troubles regarding anything that has to do with that. And so there are a lot of things that I've been quiet about and silent on, and it's because I'm worth protecting. I'm valuable too, dang it. Yeah, but that Korean romance was a terrorizing film was a horror film for me, and it made me really sick. But it motivated me to finish my dang book. Now, a lot of people have a lot of critiques and criticisms for my book. Like Jay's is too angry and hypermasculine, which that's on purpose. It's a part of the character journey. You don't start off characters as being whole, complete people. You start them off very flawed, and then they get to go through character arcs and develop and become something new. And part one was just, creating the character flaws and that. And it's introducing concepts like self-awareness and a guy apologizing for telling a girl what to do. That was my favorite part of the whole book. Like, other people don't realize that would be my favorite part of the whole book because it's just a little teeny tiny scene. Just like, oh, yeah, I was a dick for telling you what to do. And I'm just like, see, and that's why I love Jays. But, yeah, because there was a point in my relationship where that guy did that. He's like, I'm a jerk for telling you what to do. And I'm just like, self-awareness. Super sexy. Super sexy. Yeah, it melts my heart when guys are self-aware and when, it's okay to make mistakes. It really is. As long as you apologize for the mistake, acknowledge it, and, try to change. That's the important thing in life. We try to continually improve. At least I do. I don't know. Some people I don't really think do. Oh, I look so pale right now. I have like a gajillion lights on to try to not have all shadows and stuff, but anyway, I have wasted enough of your time today, so, well, I don't know if I've wasted it, but hopefully you've gotten something out of this and it's been valuable for you to watch. But yeah, if you ever want to see an abusive relationship that is horrible and what to watch out for in a relationship that is bad, go ahead and watch Noble My Love, and don't fall for the music and stuff that they do to make it all romantic. It's a really, really creepy show. It's horrible. Horrible! And, yeah, it was utterly terrifying for me and gave me nightmares. I was like, oh, I really hope women in Korea do not believe that this is romance. I really hope women know that a guy who treats you with respect and who honors your opinion and respects your boundaries, that is the guy to go for. That is sexy. So, anyway, I've talked about a lot of stuff in this video that I didn't mean to talk about, so anyway, Korea, please value women and their opinions and support them in having value and, having boundaries, because that'd be cool. I'd love it. I really can't believe that was, it really said that was put out by the Department of Tourism. That was, the most gross thing to me ever. It's like, you're promoting that as being your country, as degrading women and keeping them as pets and trapped and caged as part of your country. Do you realize how wrong that is? That should not be what your country is putting out for tourism. Please tell me that is not Korea, because I really don't want to believe that in this modern day where we have social media and so many wonderful things like neuropsychology, that you believe that is okay. It's not okay. It damages the female brain to be treated like a freaking animal. They've done studies on emotional abuse and verbal and how it affects the brain similarly to physical assault. It's not okay to treat women like that at all. Like this, Noble My Love, on you. I really want to believe that Korea is better than that. I really do. So, crossing my fingers I don't piss a lot of people off, because yes, the United States put out 50 Shades of Grey, and I'm very ashamed of that show. Or, I don't know, I never watched the show, but I'm very ashamed of that book, and I'm ashamed that it is so popular. But seriously, I don't think our Department of Tourism put that out. I don't know. Hopefully you realize that that's not what America is like, and we really don't value relationships like that. I don't know. But, yeah, Noble My Love was really horrible, and if you don't see that, please get educated as to, healthy boundaries, healthy psychology, and how to make people feel important and special, because that is not it. treating somebody like a caged animal, putting them on a leash, not honoring their boundaries or their opinions or anything that they do in their life. That's just wrong. It's really, really, really wrong. Um, anyway, Korea, I wish you the best. I love Koreans, many, many Koreans that I've known. I love them and they're great, but that show was not. And I'm sorry if I offended you because I don't mean to. I just really mean to draw attention to an issue. And this is a big issue that faces not just Korea, but a lot of the world, and including America, sadly. Yeah, the sexism I come across in my daily life is kind of terrible. So yeah, like I have this one guy who doesn't respect the fact that I don't want to model anymore because I think it devalues me. And he's like, well, when are you going to put up pictures? I'm like, I literally asked him, like, so when are you going to put, he loves doing music. And I'm like, so when are you going to lay down some tracks so I can listen to it and, be a big rock star? And he's like, well, when are you going to get back to modeling? And I've told him, I don't want to model anymore. And he doesn't respect it. And it's just like, oh. Yeah. Besides that, I feel too old to model. Like, I have lines under my eyes, crow's feet, whatever. And the fun thing is I don't care. I'm like, I'm getting older and I've gotten a lot of wisdom from it. And I love that I actually feel beautiful now. I feel important now. Whereas before, I just felt like my goal in life was to be of service. One of the things I grew up with is, that a woman's most important role was to be a mother. Like, she had no value of her own. And it's like, I never wanted to be a mother. And so I felt like I was a freak. I was abnormal. And I mean, there was a part of me that considered it, for a while, because everybody told me I would change my mind, and because I didn't know my own mind. That's sexism. Like, from the time I was 5 years old, I said I didn't want to have kids, and my mother and my sister literally talked to me for an hour about how I would change my mind, and I figured they were older and smarter, so I would change my mind. So I'm like, so my entire life I'm like, do I want kids? Do I want kids? Huh? Do I want kids? And, then when I found out I couldn't have kids, I still had to mourn a loss, even though it wasn't like a very deep one. It wasn't like, it was just like, yeah, it really sucks. But what hurt more was the fact that I stopped being valued by men because I couldn't have kids. It was, and, when I tell a guy I don't want kids, he looks at me like I have two heads and I'm a foreign entity, and it's hurtful. It really freaking hurts. It's like I can't have kids, and I'm okay with that, and I'm choosing to be happy about it, and you're looking at me like I'm this baby killer or something, which I'm totally not. But anyway, I get looked at like that. I get looked at like I'm the worst person in the world because I don't want kids by guys. They're like, like I get that look, and I'm just like, or this like awkward silence where he's like looking at me like, what are you? Are you an alien that's going to suck out my brains? I don't know. But it should be okay for me not to want kids, and it should be okay that I'm infertile. Well, not technically infertile, but have cysts and tumors and whatnot in my parts. Yeah. And, it's funny because when I found out, like, part of me was really grateful because I couldn't have my husband's kid because of marital problems. I was like, I really don't want to have his kids. And I'd been praying not to get pregnant, which is kind of funny. And then I found out I couldn't. I was like, oh, thank you. Because there was just this incident that really scared me in my marriage that, I can't really talk about those things publicly, but let's just say there were some really bad things going on in my marriage. And no, it wasn't David's success that caused our divorce. Yes, his success, I did go through a period of depression during that because I was still struggling to find my passion. So a lot of people took that as the reason for our divorce, but it totally wasn't. Success is awesome. So is money. That's kind of the only thing I miss about our marriage was the money. Yeah, I like money, I've decided. I used to not care about it at all. I used to just be happy with whatever. I'm like, I don't need money. But now I'm like, how can I make a lot of money? Wow, E.L. James makes several million per week? Dang, I gotta get in on that action because she's a horrible, she's like, she's edifying this horrible stuff. And yeah, I don't think that the horrible stuff should make all the money. Hopefully we can get some good stuff making money. So anyway, I'm writing erotica to combat the whole sexism that's going on. Like, you look up dominant and submissive and you go to images and all the women are being the submissive and all the men are being the dominant. It's like, you know what? I'd prefer to be the dominant. I'd prefer to have the guy chained up. I know, weird, right? Um, Not that I'm a very dominant person, because I'm not. Or I am naturally, but I've worked so hard not to be that there's like this huge conflict. I was gonna end this. Dang it. Sorry. I'm ending it now. Bye, YouTube. Thanks for watching. Love you. Bye.